good evening. My name is Naziati Muhammad Yaqub, and I'm going to present a set of slides that I first shared with lecturers and students at UNPAR in Bandung in the year 2016, entitled Human-Centered Design. So I will share the screen and start the lecture. Okay, the lecture is by me, and I'm from University of Malaya, and it's on human-centered design. Human-centered design, another way I like to call it is designing with empathy. This is presented for the benefit of designers, architectural designers, and architects who are interested in human-centered design and of the more common thing is universal design. So I'll just get right to it. So when we talk about justification of or the reason why for human-centered design, we're talking about 50% of the human population to be persons with disabilities, quoted by World Health Organization. And we know that 46% of older persons above the age of 60 are disabled persons as well, and that there's an increase in the aging population in many developed nations and fast catching up with countries such as Malaysia. So when we talk about barrier-free principles, after Satoshi Kosei in 2000, we talk about three things: accessibility, safety, and usability. And I have been trying to marry this principles, barrier-free with universal design, and looking at functionalism, functionality more than anything, the word function, which is a good design, something that's functional is good design. And we totally, in a way, trying to orientate myself away from the stylistic or formalistic approach when you think about design in terms of just focusing more on aesthetics and so on. So this is something that interests me, and because we're talking about an aging population and we need to include the needs of older persons in our towards the future. And disability is also an evolving concept, as you know it, that you can get disabled anytime in your life, and increasingly when you age. 90% of the problem can be solved in the design stage, except for maybe heritage and transportation, where you rely on the services and operations to assist people to achieve to make it functional for people to use the building and the facilities. But 90% for new build is doable, and it can be solved in the design stage. So what is it that we're talking about? We're talking about you cannot take the designer out of the design. So the designer is the focus here, the person who thinks, who create, who manages, operate, who actually imagine it all, you know. And what is this all about? This is a juicer, and by Philip Stark's juicer. Here, quote, "Freedom is the only style. That is why I never speak about beauty or beautiful products, but good products." So here we're talking about functional good products. Nowadays, we have so many challenges. It is not really a priority to care for beauty. The only way for us is to focus on an ethic. And what we're talking about today is universal design principles. In 1994, we have Ron Mays, who started this in North Carolina University, and this is adopted from directly on the 7 principles of universal design. So we've gone through that universal design is the design and composition of an environment so that it can be accessed, understood, and used to the greatest extent possible by all people, regardless of their age, size, ability, or disability. And environment or any product product, building or product service in that environment. So the word service is important. That services should be universally designed as well. So we have the seven principles, and let us go through them. The first principle is equitable use. The design is useful and marketable to people with diverse abilities. So you need to provide the same means of use for all users. Identical where possible, whenever possible, equivalent when not. So, much of the bus access into the bus in my country is through the middle part, middle door, not the front door. And I've been to a bit. I've alighted a few buses in Europe as well, where I had to go through the middle door. But the most equitable use is the where I can access in front, because I had problems before where it's not universally designed. People thought I was not going, because I didn't know how to use the system. They thought that I wasn't going to pay when I used the middle door. So I would want to pay. I would want to be like everybody else to be able to access the front, you know. So when we talk about kitchen access to be able to cook like everybody else, all the equipment, all the cutting board, washing area, cooker, I can do it myself, then we are talking about equitable use in the image that is shown on the right. So the other principle is flexibility in use, where the design accommodates a wide range of individual preferences and abilities. So provide what is it? Guideline? Provide choice in methods of use. So we're gonna use it. I don't know how we're gonna use it. So you have a choice. You don't have only one, no choice when you have to do one way. So this include with accommodate the right or left-handed access and use, for example. So here on the left is the choice to actually sit in the classroom and choose a table that was designed whether I'm left-handed or right-handed. So this is beautiful where I have that choice, and choice is such an important thing that that it stumps people and people can't operate because they have no choice. For example, so a child growing up, they have no choice but to grow up, but they are disabled, and a wheelchair on the right can be adjusted to accommodate to their size or the length of their body, and so on as they grow older. And flexibility in use is shown in terms of equipment or built-in cabinets such as shelves that you normally see when you're working in an environment like a workplace and desk and so on, that you have the choice to use it. uh, the cabinet was designed by the architect for this group of people, where you could actually write on some sort of what do you call it, a top that can be pulled out. That is that choice where you can do, and you don't have to bring in a separate thing for you to write at the shelf. You want to take a book from it, you want to have a look at it. And so this flexibility, when you think of designing a flexible system or a flexible product, you're thinking about the different users, and that you're giving them all this way to go and choice to do to use it in any way and form. So the more flexible it is, and the better. So when you talk about the third principle, which is simple and intuitive use, now you think about use of the design, which is easy to understand regardless of the user's experience, knowledge, language skills, or current concentration level. So it eliminates, the first guideline says it eliminates unnecessary complexity. So the more intuitive we can use something using our intuition and simple, the better the design is, because it accommodates to any user in pictograms on the telephone, for example, or the numbers, which is very is with color contrast, for example. So we have the design that's intuitive when people just know what to do and they don't have to go through any training to get there. So a child can use it, for example. So and toys that are designed to be simple and intuitive, for example. And perceptible information is the fourth principle, where the design communicates necessary information effectively to the user, regardless of ambient conditions or the user's sensory abilities. Where the guideline says use different modes, pictorial, verbal, or tactile, for redundant presentation of essential information. You don't have to think, oh my, what is this signboard trying to tell me? You know, as this particular on the left, this sign shows that men, women, and people. Well, it's a wrong use of it, the international access symbol, but it says it's including persons with disabilities in the um, in the people who is using this facility with braille, tactile, and embossed in it. So it's very, it's not complicated, and you can don't have to. It's not wordy. It's using pictogram, such as the one on the right as well, to find your way to the parking, to the accessible parking lot. And what else is perceptible information? It could be designated for persons who are non-sighted, such as the warning tactile guide at before you cross the road. So it is it is known that this warning type does that, and for the blind person, it's tactile and is good. For a person who's sighted, who are using a wheelchair, this particular signboard on the right indicates you can wait here. This is the boarding area to board the bus, and there's, a bus with a ramp, and you could board it. So, and it also have letterings underneath to give more information. Information to communicate the instruction that is necessary to ease people around. That is very important. Another one which relates back to the safety principle in barrier-free design is principle number 5, tolerance for error. The design minimizes hazards and the adverse consequences of accidental or unintended actions. And something that's more predictable, for example, in guidelines number 5, arrange the elements to minimize hazards and errors. Most used elements, most accessible. Hazardous elements eliminated, isolated, or shielded. So yeah, predictability for some people that you regularly go and use the facility, and um, things that are hazardous is designed to, if possible, not at all or none at all to be felt, or when you think about the design, you think about minimizing or none or eradicating the hazardous elements. I'm showing this ramp with the flared sides, and the flared sides is very much flared so that I can really feel the differences in seamless design from one height to another, and don't feel much of a problem there. When a child takes a bath and the mother is helping the child, you design the bathtub to actually accommodate the anthropometric, or how the performance of the human being, the mother, to actually assist the child, because if it's comfortable for the mother or the parent, then it's easy for her to help the child if any difficulties happen. So this is when the designer actually think about tolerance for error to minimize any problem that could happen. And number 6 is low physical effort, and low physical effort means this principle is that the design can be used efficiently and comfortably, and with minimum of fatigue. The guideline says allow the user to maintain a neutral body position. I've talked about this regarding the use of the things such as sliding door or swing door, which is better, and I've said it in different situation before where, but I don't have the slide here, but for example, my body can easily push a swing door rather than parts of my fingers to push the sliding door. A swing door is better than a sliding door, by the way. So in here, some people without fingers, they can push this lever door knob. It's not a knob, but lever door, and also the best is push to open, push button operation. A low physical effort also to provide some sort of elements to the product. For example, on the right, for people with weaker left or weaker lower limbs, the extended rail would help them to propel themselves as they rise up to stand. And also, like I said about the sliding door, it has to be the right weight and easy for you to position yourself to push it on the left photograph. So the last principle is the size and space for approach and use. So appropriate size and space is provided for approach, reach, manipulation, and use regardless of the user's body size, posture, or mobility. So one of the guidelines says provide a clear line of sight to important elements for any seated or standing user. So, and you're able to reach all components comfortably and so on. So obviously you provide the right width in order to access through the turnstile in the train station, such as this photograph. And shower stalls is one of the the thing that you need to have so that you could actually tuck your wheelchair and transfer yourself to a seating area to have your shower. And having an aisle at the car park also means a provision for this ease of use, that we need to reach the parts that we want to reach, for example, the car door and so on, so that we're able to function, be able to access into the car. And these are the principles of universal design that has been shared by the Center for Universal Design. And I would like to stop there with regard to the share. And I would like to say that thank you for joining me in this session with regard to human-centered design. It's just a basic walkthrough about human-centered design and universal design. And I thank you for your attention, and see you again in another video. Thank you.